whether it's a contemporary artist or an artist from the past, whether it's an artist who's American, etc., or from somewhere else in the world. And then we'll talk briefly about our thoughts about the particular artist's work. Then I'm going to teach you a technique, and then we're actually going to create our own artwork. Probably you will not finish what we start today, and all of that is good and fine. So I'm going to now try and share the screen to talk about today's artist. His name is Jeffrey Gibson. I'll talk a little bit about his life and where he's come from and what inspires him. And then we'll talk more about the aesthetics of his work and why I've chosen him for today's lesson and how it's going to help inspire us in our own work. For now, I'm going to sit down because I'm bigger this way and I feel like it's easier for you to see me. If at any time you can't see me, please send me a message in the chat box. So our artist for today is Jeffrey Gibson. He is a Native American artist. I have actually met him a few times. He is an acquaintance of my husband's, my husband is also an artist, for those of you who may not know. He lived for a long period of time in Jersey City. His name, did I mention it, is Jeffrey Gibson. All right, now I'm going to share the screen. I want to share my desktop with everyone first, and that will enable me to get us some pictures. Let's look at this one first. Can everyone see this image? Yes? All right, I see a lot of people nodding their heads. So Jeffrey Gibson is Native American Indian. I have chosen him today for many reasons, but perhaps most importantly because November is Native American History Month, possibly for obvious reasons. It's important to celebrate our Native American ancestors and forebears at this period of time in the calendar year. So Gibson is a Mississippi Choctaw Cherokee painter and sculptor. He's now based in Hudson, New York. He did teach at the New Jersey City University for a while. Some of you might have even studied with him. He was born in Colorado. His family moved frequently, and as a youth, he lived in Germany and Korea. So this is important to his role as an artist. He likes the unique combination of cultural perspectives and exposure. And he likes to combine and transform seemingly disparate references drawn from both Western and non-Western sources. I think it's kind of obvious in this piece, the Native American inspiration in his work. I hope you can see that there's a lot of fine detailed beadwork, stitchery that is prevalent in many Native American cultures and traditions. So he's drawing inspiration from his traditional culture, but combining it with some Western attributes. An interesting thing about Gibson that he is not shy about sharing. He likes to hire Native American craftspeople to help him complete his pieces. So he has done everything from painting to sculpture to installation. This obviously is a sculpture. if you want to see his sculpture work up close and in person, the Newark Museum of Art has one of his figures, I believe much larger than this. This one looks small to me. I don't have the exact dimensions, but the Newark Art Museum in its new Native American wing has a very large sculpture by Jeffrey Gibson that is a figurative piece like this. And by the way, I love the Newark Museum of Art. It is one of New Jersey's best kept gems. Go if you can. I'm not sure if they're open yet, though. Somebody could research that for us. So that's one image of Gibson's. Now let's see another one. I want to show you the range of his work. So he is also a painter. And you can see that he is combining imagery with patterns. The patterns are definitely inspired by Native American tapestry and fabric art, textile art, but the words are in English. I can't quite read what it says, but usually his...
Liz, I don't see it.
Oh, you're not seeing it?
No, I'm not seeing it either.
Maybe I have to hit share screen again, so sorry. So it is open. Okay, good. How about now? Good.
Yes.
All right, so forgive me, everyone. I guess I have to hit share screen between each picture. So this, you can see he's very much inspired by Native American textile. It looks woven, but this is actually a painting. And he likes to use words and messages in his art. This one I am having difficulty reading. It does say earth down here in the bottom left-hand corner. Can you all see the cursor when I move it?
Yes.
Okay, good, because that's a help. Often his messages are about environmental issues and degradation of the sacred lands of Native American people. So they carry a message, but they're quite beautiful, used as part of the patterning in his work. Again, I want to emphasize how he combines the domestic Native American and hard-edged modernist images. So he likes to combine Western with Native American cultural influences in his work. And that's important for us to think about in the project that we're going to do later this morning. Okay. I wish there was a faster way to do this, but apparently I haven't learned it yet. So bear with me, everyone. He also, this is one of his earlier works that I'm about to share. He creates what he calls atmospheric landscapes, very different from what we just looked at. This one is way more abstract and organic. You can see that some of it is three-dimensional. There is some collage work as well as paint in this. I find this quite a gorgeous image. Beautiful color, a lot going on texture-wise. I'm enjoying the way there's so much texture here in the bottom left and a flatter, smoother appearance to most of the rest of the image. Okay, we'll look at one more picture, I think. I have many, but I want to get to work with you guys too. Okay, this is one of my favorites. Can you see it? Or do I have to?
Not yet.
Yeah, I have to do share screen for each one. I want to mention too that he's been in not one, but two Whitney biennials. He is growing in fame and fortune. He did move recently from Jersey City, and now he has a huge compound in Hudson, New York, I believe right on the Hudson River, where he has workshops, is doing a lot of teaching, as well as creating. So these are punching bags. There's often this kind of not too subtle reference to his relationship to Western culture, interwoven with, again, the Native American traditional arts. Notice the incredible beadwork that he has put on top of these punching bags. And again, a lot of this beadwork that you see frequently in his work, the stitchery, he farms out to Native American craftspeople whom he pays to help him do his work. I was lucky enough to see this piece. This is at the Whitney Museum of American Art, and it was a huge, huge installation with multiple punching bags. So not to read too much into it, but the punching bags have a lot to do with the treatment of Native American people in our American culture, but they also reference pop culture. He creates his own totem sculpture, and he produced a totem series for an exhibition at Sala Diaz in San Antonio, Texas. This series of sculptures involved Gibson arriving 5 days before the opening to put together a collection of found objects. The totems feature objects such as mannequins acquired from Craigslist, a wig, plastic flowers, toys, cowboy boots, flower pots, his signature spray paint, and other objects. Writer Ben Judson described totems as a way Gibson uses the stereotyping of his own people as a way of exploring the use of metaphor in identity formation, cultural critique and consumerism without forfeiting lyricism or indulging in self-righteousness. Oh, a little bit about his creative process. In order to keep regular studio hours, Gibson prefers to work between the hours of 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. He always has music on in the background, and he'll listen to anything from African funk to jazz to punk, pop music, as well as East Indian drumming. So even in his musical life, he combines a lot of different genres. All right, any thoughts or ideas that you'd like to share before I talk about what we're going to create today? You can just unmute yourselves, and I'm going to limit you each to a minute. Any likes, dislikes? No one. Okay, that's cool. So we're going to now stop the share. I find his work incredibly interesting. I want to follow what he does for as long as possible. I was lucky also to see a show of his in a gallery on West Houston Street many years ago, and at the same time he had a show in the Village. He was using at that time a lot of leather. He was painting on hide that he had found or purchased. They were really beautiful objects. So I invite you all to learn more about Jeffrey Gibson. So today we're going to do some drawing. We're going to revisit very quickly some of the ideas that I've been teaching to many of you over the years. And then I'm going to revisit some of the techniques that we've done before as well. And then you're going to create your own drawing. For those of you who are new to the game, you've never drawn before, you've never put pencil to paper, I want you to know that it's okay. Everyone in this group is part of this class at different levels. Some of the students here have been with me for a while. Some people are newer in their journey in art. What I want to help you do today is to relax, enjoy, breathe deeply, accept your mistakes, just have fun. Art is a beautiful way to relax, particularly in tense times like the ones that we're living through right now. The first thing I want to do is to offer folks the opportunity to look around their home to see if you have any objects that speak to you of your own personal culture, because that's what I want you to work on drawing today. If you can't think of anything like that that you might own or have, don't worry about it. Any interesting object or object that maybe you've never looked at before, but you want to look more closely at now, or an object that's a favorite one of yours because of the way it's shaped, whatever colors it has, you can use anything for this particular lesson. But again, I've chosen Jeffrey Gibson because of the way he is not rejecting his cultural background. He is embracing it and using it to express himself through his art. All right, and we will take a short break at 11 o'clock for people to go on a treasure hunt in their home to look for some objects to look at and draw. Now, I'm hoping everyone can see this. This is a book that I recommend highly for those of you who enjoyed today's drawing lesson and you want to pursue drawing further. Some of you know it well. It is called Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain by Betty Edwards. It is a magnificent book for learning the skills and techniques of realistic drawing. I believe the Hoboken Public Library has at least one copy, so you can take it out. It's available on Amazon.com. I don't know how much it costs these days, but if you want to purchase your own, that's where you can find it. It also comes in workbook form, and I love this book because it will have the assignment. Oh, that's not a good example. Give me a minute. It will have the assignments on the left-hand side of the book, and then on the right-hand side of the book, there's actually a page on which you can do your drawing. So it's a sketchbook as well as a textbook all rolled into one. And again, it's called Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain by Betty Edwards. Why am I showing those books? Here's why. I'm going to share the screen again, and we're going to look briefly at the human brain. And those of you who've seen this before, it bears looking at again, I believe. Can everyone see this image?
Yes.
So the brain has two hemispheres. This is not new to a lot of you, but like I said, it's great to repeat it to remind you. The right side of the brain, as you can see in this funny picture here, is the side of the brain that I guess we could say is more of the pleasure center. This is the side of the brain that is more visual. It thinks in terms of colors, lines, shapes, texture, form, dark and light shadow, all the things that are important to the visual artist. It's also the musical center of the brain where we process sound as well. Those of you who are creative writers or poetry people, this is the side of the brain that you will access for those kinds of activities. The left side of the brain that this artist depicts very strongly is the logical, mathematical side of the brain. It's the side of our brain that we trained for many, many years in school. For most of us in this Western culture, the left side of the brain dominates our thought and all of the processes that we're engaged in on a daily basis. It's my job today to switch us to the right side of the brain, to the pleasure center, to the side of the brain that will help you relax and become more self-absorbed. That's the beauty of art. It enables you and allows you to get into a safe, wonderful place for yourself. Any questions so far? So we are now going to do an exercise that will start tapping into your right brain energy. For those of you who are my veteran teachers, you've done this many times. We are going to do an exercise that you can find in the Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain book called blind contour. Blind contour is a technique that artists have been using for centuries. It is a way to relax your mind and focus your eyes. One of the tricks in drawing is to really look at what's in front of you and see it. This sounds kind of bizarre. Don't we see everything we're looking at all day, every day? And the very brief answer is no. You are not really seeing what's in front of you. To be able to see what's in front of you, you have to be relaxed, focused through the eyes, and accessing that right side of your brain. And blind contour is the way to go in doing this kind of right brain activity. I'm going to be drawing in Sharpie so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to be drawing on my easel. I'm going to do a demonstration first, and then I'm going to put you to work on your own blind contour. Okay, I'm going to step off camera just for a minute to get a Sharpie. Now I'm going to do this standing up. I don't recommend that you do it standing up. It's much better to do it sitting down. I don't want you to do anything yet. I want you to watch me. Those of you who are veterans at this, it wouldn't hurt to watch again, just to remind yourselves of the rules of the road. So there are rules to this drawing exercise. The number one rule is, this is so funny. The number one rule is you have to create one continuous line. Do not pick your pencil up. Do not stop. I don't want you to look at your drawing until I tell you to stop. The other thing, no talking. Try not to have any distractions around you. You want to really focus on what you're looking at and not be distracted. You're going to look for the first blind contour at your hand. This is a traditional object that artists draw all the time. And the reason we choose to draw it in a relaxation exercise like this is because it's so intricate and involved. I prefer looking at the palm of my hand because there are so many lines in that part of my hand. You don't want to do the outline of your hand. The object of this lesson is not to recreate your hand. The object is to get you really focused on the tiny lines that you see in your skin and to help you really start observing what's in front of you. Any questions so far? So you're not going to stop till I tell you to stop. You're going to do one continuous line. You're going to try not to speak or be distracted by anything around you so that you can stay focused. All right, so I'm going to do a demo. I hope you can all see. I'm not going to look at you now. I'm looking at my hand. I really want to see what's in front of me and focus on that. Don't draw yet, just watch. All right. So I'm going to take it off the easel so you can see better. Hold it up close to the screen. You can see that it does not look like a hand. And that is because I wasn't looking at the outline of my hand. I was looking at the contours or the lines in the middle of my palm. And I might have gone like 1/8 of an inch along one particular line. All right. Any questions about how to do blind contour? I recommend that you use pencil only for this exercise. And I'm going to turn my phone back on so that I can time us. Oh, and one thing I forgot to tell you because I was standing up. If you are right-handed, I'm going to demonstrate this now. If you are right-handed, you want to turn your chair so that it is parallel to the edge of your table. And you want to place the paper kind of slightly behind you, and you hold your hand in front of your face in a comfortable position. You do not look at your paper. That's the rule I forgot to tell you. You don't look at your paper. You create one continuous line and you don't stop till I tell you to. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you
Pat?
hear me?
Yes.
Hi. You were breaking up
So
when you were showing us how to do your hand. And I just missed the part. You don't want us to do the real thing that you're looking at. You want us to
focus on the lines and crevices and cracks in the skin.
Okay.
Don't try and recreate
When you're drawing.
it
Okay.
like hand. And you want to
Got
work
it.
very slowly, Karen, as if you're an inchworm. Your eyes are an inchworm crawling along a branch. Okay? And
Yeah.
you have a minute. You see the way are you right-handed?
Yes.
So you
I have
want
to get
to
a
turn the
chair,
right
so-
side of your body parallel to the right edge of the table. Turn your chair. You want to sit down and do this.
I have to get a chair because it
Oh,
didn't
okay.
work out so that I could see you.
Okay. Okay, everybody, I'm going to turn my phone back on. Get comfortable. I'm going to do this along with you. Good. So turn your body parallel to the edge of the table. Karen, sit down
Okay.
and turn the chair parallel to the edge of the table. Good. Excellent. You have something to draw on? Paper?
Yeah.
And
And I put that,
put it on the table and put your hand like this. Can you see me?
in, no, yes, I can see you. So I'll be like this.
Excellent. Perfect. Don't
Okay.
look at your paper. And I'm about to start the timer, everyone. One minute for first blind contour. Don't start till I say go. And begin. Okay, time to stop. Never figure out how to turn this off. Okay. How did it feel, everybody? Raise your hand if you started to feel a little more relaxed. You should really start to feel your shoulders and your neck loosen up. And you should really be starting to focus on what's in front of you. All right, we're going to do a few more blind contour till 11 o'clock, and then I'm going to show you some techniques for drawing. Then you're going to take a few-minute break to look for some objects around your home that you want to copy and draw. Any questions so far? Okay, great. You can either do your hand for the second blind contour, or you can choose one of the objects that maybe you've already put in position for your project today. I'm just going to grab, I happen to have this African ebony piece over here on my shelf. So you can choose any object. I don't know if you can see this piece that I picked, or you can do your hand again. This time we're going to do a 2-minute blind contour. Remember to look at the object in front of you. All right, get ready. Don't start till I say go. Turn your body so you can't see your paper and begin. 2 minutes of blind contour. Try not to look at your paper, don't cheat. Good. One looks deeply focused. Keep going. Don't stop. If you think you're done, just let your lines go over each other. Doesn't matter. And stop. So look at your paper. I'm hoping that all you see is a bunch of scribbles. That's all that should be visible. If it actually looks like a thing, then you're not really doing blind contour. I see people smiling. That's exactly what I want to see. It should look funny. It should not look real. It should look like just a mess of lines. All right, I wanted to do a few more, but time is rolling on.
Liz, just two questions, please.
Sure.
So the first is the term blind contour
Yes.
makes me think of the exterior, the outside surfaces. Yet what my mind, what I feel like I'm doing is looking at light, texture, lots of things when you start to really observe the object. So I was just curious.
Remember, when we name things, it's a left brain construct. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
contour, if you look it up in Webster's dictionary, it can mean something internal as well as outer. Contour basically means edge, the edge of something.
Okay.
The
And
more
then
you see, though, the better it is. So do not
right.
be concerned about the fact that you're noticing other things, not just the lines that you're looking at. That's exactly what I want to have you accomplish, is that you're seeing what's.
Yeah, it's really, it's so helpful. The other quick question was, I was just curious after, I don't know how many years of teaching art, whether there are any observations about some people finding it more natural to start thinking
Sure.
with the right side of the brain.
There are many people in our society who are left-handed. Left-handed people tend to be more visual and more right brain. The human brain is just a mystery. Well, not a mystery, it's a scientific marvel. But the left side of the body controls the right side of the brain, and vice versa. If you look back in the history of Western male-dominated art history, most of the greats, like Michelangelo, Leonardo, I think Rembrandt, maybe even Rubens, Botticelli, they were left-handed people. So lefties tend to be more visual, more musical. They're usually perhaps dancers, or people, athletes tend to be more left-handed because they're right brain spatial thinkers. The other thing too is there are certain people who are much more visually focused than others. And I'm not sure what makes that happen. They may grow up in a household with visual parents where they're constantly being told to look at things, to study things. I don't know what it is. I've worked with very young children doing this kind of work who may have a scientific bent, who are curious about the natural world and are always looking at animals or shells or rocks or plants or whatever. And they're much more adept at switching from left to right brain mode because they're used to using that side of their brain. We, unfortunately, for the most part, and myself included, have to untrain that left brain training that we've been giving throughout our educational experience and our educational careers, because that's what we were told to strengthen in order to succeed. So do not beat yourself up by the fact that it's hard for you to get into this focus mode. The more blind contour that you do, and you can do it anywhere at any time, carry a sketchbook with you when you go for a walk. If you see something beautiful, sit down and do some blind contour. The real thing to remember is don't worry about the finished product. Don't worry about the end product. Just try and into the process of looking, seeing, and drawing. All right, any questions? I want everyone to just take a brief break. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to look around where you are. Choose some interesting objects, maybe 2 or 3 objects that you want to really focus on with our work today. If you have some cultural objects, like I took out my mother's menorah. I don't know if you all can see this.
That's beautiful.
I don't seem to be on screen at the moment. You can see it, Karen?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
I can see it. It's really beautiful.
Well, that's nice of you to say. It's quite old and it's covered with wax. I also took, those of you who are my veteran students, I took out my childhood doll.
Of course, of course.
Hazel is my muse, my creative muse. So she's a very important part of what I feel is my cultural background. And I'm going to be happily drawing her. I also have these wonderful, wonderful old photos of my grandparents. You can draw from a photograph today as well, if you would like. God knows how old. These photographs are from like the early 30s, I guess. Very, very old.
Are we drawing all of that with contour drawing?
No, no, no.
Oh, okay.
Blind contour, good question, Karen, sorry. Blind contour was our warm-up. That's all.
Okay.
It's like with any other activity, drawing is a skill that you need to warm up for. Yeah, I was going to talk about that next, so I'm so glad you asked that question. Awesome. No, we're going to start now doing more observational things that I'm going to teach you. So I'm going to give everyone 1 more minute. This is something quite wonderful. If you have your video on, I can see you. I know who's being naughty. I know who's being nice.
Where's video?
You're on video, Karen. You're
Oh, okay.
sorry. This is a student who doesn't have video. I'm texting her, so she knows what we're doing. Okay, good. All right, so I think it's time to move on. Although not everyone's with us, but they'll come back. Oh, Shirley, hi. I don't know if you can hear me, Allison, Eileen, but we're going to move on.
I'm back.
How
Good.
long do we have for this drawing?
We're going to do several. Karen is asking such great questions. We're going to do maybe 2 or 3 short drawings, and then we're going to spend the rest of the class doing one long, more finished drawing, Karen. Okay?
Okay, so that's,
So in the
you don't want to
short,
get too complicated.
no, I'm trying to keep it easy peasy, relaxed, no judgment. I want you to let go of your judgmental voice. Try not to listen to the self-chat that's going, oh, you can't do this. I can't do this. This is awful. This is my worst thing.
No, I was just thinking about how complicated of an object or a photo I want to get, so that I leave myself enough time to.
The more complicated the object is that you draw, the better it will be. It's counterintuitive, but the more complex the object is, the more you will get into right brain mode. The more observant you will become, the more complicated the object is. So I'm so glad you brought that up. Great. Okay, I'm going to just speak briefly about different drawing tools. We have our everyday number 2 pencil, terrific to draw with. My personal favorite are Uniball and Microline markers. For those of you who are relatively new to drawing, I wouldn't recommend using these to start off with. Any kind of Sharpie works beautifully, but not if you're feeling rusty or like you're a complete beginner today. I would stick with pencil. There's always charcoal. Not sure I even have charcoal with me today. Yes. Charcoal is great, but messy. Those of you who are new to drawing, I wouldn't use charcoal today. Just want to mention and refresh everybody's memory about these things. There's also Conti crayon. Conti crayon is one of my favorites because it comes in a variety of colors and it's soft. You can blend Conti crayon and rub it when you need to. If you are into color, and those of you who are my more veteran students today, if you want to use color, you may. I recommend things like art sticks. Art sticks are a hard drawing tool. Prismacolor makes a good art stick, and they have very vibrant colors. They're more like pencils, though. You can't blend with them. And finally, there's always colored pencils. Oh, excuse me. Allergy season. All right. So, I want you to start by drawing only one object at a time. I'm going to use a larger piece of paper so you can see better. So choose, while I'm hanging this up, choose one object that you want to really focus on closely and try and isolate it from everything else on your table. Try and have it stand alone. I'm going to try and Sharpie again so it's easier for you folks to see. I wouldn't recommend doing it. If this is your first time, I would recommend using pencil. Now you're going to be doing more of a modified contour. So now you can look at your paper. You can stop when you need to. You can erase if you have to. But I want you to try and remember what it felt like when you were doing blind contour and you were focused more on the object in front of you and not thinking about, oh my God, what is my drawing going to look like? Everybody heard me? Any questions so far? Good. I'm going to start working. Those of you who are new with me, I recommend you watch first and then begin your own, but that's entirely up to you. So I'm going to start with my mother's menorah. And when you do this kind of drawing, you want to work quickly and loosely. If you usually hold your pen or pencil near the tip, try this time holding it more towards the eraser end. It helps to loosen up your arm and hand. And I want you to, those are your two goals now, to focus on what's in front of you and try and loosen up your arm as you go. I'm holding the object that I'm drawing because the table is so low. I want you folks who are seated to keep the drawing the object in a comfortable position in front of you. I hold the object, it makes it more difficult to draw. Again, I'm going to try and focus more on the object, less on my paper, and get the basic shape down.
Unbelievable.
I'm not shooting for realism now. I'm just trying to loosely get the idea of the object down. Familiarize myself with the object so that when I go back to look at it in the finish, I have the basic contour or the basic outline down. Go ahead. I want you to take maybe just 3 minutes on doing this drawing. It's okay to erase now if you want. If you've ever had a drawing teacher in your life who's told you not to erase, please ignore that. Erasing is fine. Making mistakes are fine. Your own style will emerge. And that's one of my goals today, is to help you relax so that that style can come out. Now, for those of you who are newer to drawing, I'm holding the menorah up close because I want to talk about something that I talk about a lot in my classes, and that's negative space. The wonderful thing about my menorah is that there are all these cutouts. You can use this kind of what artists call negative space, the empty space, to help you draw the positive shape of the object that you're looking at. One more minute on this one. Don't stop. Go back and look for more details. Go ahead with your own drawing. You don't have to copy what I'm doing, please. Look at the object that you've chosen to draw and draw that. Wow, I've never looked that closely at this menorah. There's a lot going on. I know I'm not making an exact replication of this image, of this object, and that's okay. So now I'd like you to stop this drawing. And if you have another object, I want you to focus on that object. If you do not have another object, turn this one upside down or turn it around to the back and draw it from another angle. And we'll do this for just 3 minutes as well. These are really still warm-ups. I think I'm going to switch to my Hazel. One of the problems for me with doing this on Zoom is I can't really see what you're doing. I can't come around like when we're in person. I can come around and offer advice, but here's an idea. If you want to photograph your work and send it to me, I'm going to put my email address in the chat box. And I can give you advice. And here it goes. I'm sending my email address out. And Karen, I often email students. I often email students in this class about how to prepare for the upcoming class. So if you want to give me your email address, I will add you to the list of my students. But I understand if you don't. If you want to
Actually, Suzanne forwarded your class notes, but
Okay.
I was looking at totally different kinds of pictures. So anyway, I got it.
You got it. But if you want me to email you, you could put your email address in the chat box, but just send it to me.
Okay.
Make sure you're sending it, just typing it just to me, though.
Okay. I'm going to do it in a second.
All right. So again, I'm going to do a new drawing, very quick. This kind of drawing we also call gestural. It's just a way to quickly capture what we see in front of us. It helps us to see how different parts of what we're looking at relate to other parts. What size things are, what form they might have. But it's still basically about line. Very quick. No attempt at capturing the real image, just trying to relax our body and get our eyes working so that we really see what we're looking at. We're really seeing and observing what's in front of us. Do remember that every drawing you make is not going to be your best.
I love that you asked us to find something complicated. That made a huge difference for me.
Oh, it doesn't make sense, but scientifically, the more complex an object is, the harder you have to look at it. So, yeah. All right. Eileen, I love that you're happy.
I did it upside down. It's better than the other way.
Well, we might do upside down drawing next class. So thanks for sharing. So now I want to talk briefly about shading. We're covering a lot of territory very rapidly in this class today. It's been a while, those of you who are my veteran students, it's been a long time since we've actually done drawing together. In fact, I'm learning as we go. I've never taught drawing remotely, so it's a whole new challenge. And I want to do a lot of things quickly, whereas ordinarily, if we were meeting in person, we would spend way more time on each of these exercises. But I want to show you how you can create volume in the line drawing, the gestural drawing that you've made, because once you know how to do shading, you can do a more finished, detailed piece. So Hazel is obviously three-dimensional. I see, this is so fun because I can't really see myself at the moment. Another challenge. Okay, here we go. So Hazel is obviously 3D, which puts her into shadow depending on where the light hits her. Now there's a lot of bright light in this room at the moment, but it's diffuse. So the shadow is very subtle on Hazel's body at the moment. But I'm going to use graphite crayon so that you can see. Those of you using pencil, it works just as well. Some tips though. Watch. You can use the side of your pencil and blend with either your finger or a tissue for doing shading. You can use the tip of your pencil and lay your lines down very close together for dark shadow or further apart for lighter shadow. You keep those lines close together. It's much darker. And you can also blend with them. And finally, you can do a technique called cross-hatching, where you lay lines down with the tip of your pencil. When you want darker shading, you lay more lines over each other and closer together. So the lines cross each other to make the cross-hatch texture. And if you want it really dark, you just add more lines on top of lines. This too can be blended, but you'll have more of a textural effect, which I love. Cross-hatching is one of my favorite ways to do shading. So I'm going to start shading in my drawing of Hazel. Again, I'm using graphite crayon because it'll be darker and easier for you to see. Those of you who haven't drawn in a while, are feeling a little insecure about drawing, or those of you who are new to drawing, please use your number 2 pencil so that you can erase. The light now is coming from the left on Hazel, which is throwing the right side of her body into shadow. So I can create 3-dimensional form by adding this shadow on the right side. I love her face, which has almost completely disintegrated. But using shadow can help me define what little is left of her face. One of the beauties of using shading is you can take a mediocre bad drawing and turn it into something really fab by adding shadow. It takes practice. And remember not to go from super dark shading to very light shadow. You want to blend your shades of gray together so that there are no hard edges. If there are hard edges when you go from dark to light, they will flatten out your image. Think about any negative spaces that you might see at this point, and really practice your shading techniques. All right, so I've taught you the basic skills for our work today. I want you to start working on a more finished piece. I invite you to either create a mini still life with multiple objects, draw them all together. The more things you have, the more complicated it will be, the more you will be forced to use the right side of your brain to observe what's in front of you. The beauty of using more than one object, let me show you this kind of mini still life I created here. Let's see if I can do this. Can you all see? No. I think you can see now. So the beauty of using multiple objects is you can relate how things are. So for example, in my little still life, Hazel's head lines up exactly with this candle holder on the menorah behind her. Her shoulder lines up with this cutout part of the menorah next to her. Her foot really comes exactly at the stand that this menorah is positioned on. So having more than one object can help you to determine size and proportion of the things that you're looking at. If you feel not ready for doing more than one thing, choose one object and really, really, really focus on that one object. And now I want you to do what I would call a more finished drawing. Erase, use shading, and start lightly in pencil first. Always, that's like an omnipresent direction with me. Start lightly in pencil first so that you can erase. And as you go, keep adding more detail, more shadow, more texture. Really look at this object. So we're going to work on this for 15, 20 minutes, and then we're going to stop to share if you like and start talking about next week's class. Any questions? Feel free, hit me with it. I know we've been moving quickly in this class today. How's everyone doing? Obviously, I can't walk around and look. Just checking in. drawing. Drawing to me is the foundation of all other art forms. The more you draw, the better you see, the more creative you will become. So I've opted just to focus on my one object, Hazel. Starting to evolve into something three-dimensional. So by now, I hope you're tightening up and really seeing all the small details in the object that you're working on. Noticing those details will help you achieve a more realistic image if that's what you're looking for. Everyone hanging in?
You know, doesn't this work?
That's fabulous. Karen, you've had training. You've taken art classes, I think.
Do it
No,
again. Show it again, Karen.
Let's work for 4 more minutes and then we'll stop and do our share, okay? I don't want to do too much talking now because there are folks who are still deep into what they're doing. But for what I could see, Karen, you're doing great.
I've done this before, so.
Keep going on this.
But drawing is just, I have a hard time. Not enough practice.
That's what it is for all of us.
Right, that's what everyone's saying.
And when you've been away from it for a long time, it's harder. But you will get back into it. You will. So we're going to work for 3 more minutes now with quiet, because I see that some of the students are really deeply involved, and then we'll talk more. Thank you. Those beeps are my computer, just trying to ignore them. I don't know how to silence that while I'm trying to teach. Here's a tip too. Drawing is such close work that you might want to take a break and walk away from what you're doing. Look at it from a distance, because that will help you to add or change things that may not be correct. When you're very close to the work that you're doing, it's not always possible to see what you've accomplished. So particularly when you're working vertically like this, I'm going to walk away for a second to try and look at my drawing. It's coming. Needs more work. Oh, and so we have about 9 minutes left to class. Is there anyone who'd like to share what you're working on today, or maybe something that you made last class, so that I can offer advice? We'll do that for about 5 minutes, and then I wanted to talk about next week.
I want you to see if you can guess what I drew. Okay.
Hold it up. Yeah, it's a teapot. It's wonderful, Eileen. I like the way you use that negative space in the handle. Terrific. I want you to keep working on it. Try using some shading, okay? Great line work.
Espresso pot.
Espresso pot. I knew it was one of those. I don't drink coffee anymore, so I don't know from espresso. Anyone else? And somebody just entered our class. I don't know who it is, but welcome.
Thank you.
Hi. We have 8 minutes left in class. So listen to what we're going to do next week, and I hope you join us at an earlier time.
Okay.
Cool. Anyone else want to share?
Here you
Suzanne,
go.
okay. Say something.
So I guess it's hard to,
Oh.
sorry?
I'm sorry, I called Suzanne next, Jane.
Oh, sorry.
And then you can go. So Suzanne? Suzanne, you're muted, so you have to unmute Suzanne so we can see. Okay, good. Can you get a little closer, Suzanne, perhaps? Oh, some birds? Wow.
No, it's like
Oh,
a,
yes, okay. It's a pitcher and a glass.
yeah, and then a bit of another, like something you put whiskey in or something.
My suggestion, see the beautiful dark you have under your handle here.
Yeah,
I want you to go dark, very dark, on what to me is, well, it's your left side. Underneath the picture on the left side, what to me is the right side. Get really dark up at the edge of this baby to help define the form of it.
okay.
You're on the right track. And then I'm wondering, is there any shadow under this glass here?
Which glass? The,
Right by your hand, right by your left hand. Yeah.
I mean, this was shadow right here.
Yes.
And I guess there's also some on the other side that I
I
haven't.
think that would help ground this
Okay.
part of the image. Oh, and then, can you move your right hand? Because now I see the whiskey decanter. Love the fact that you did this in the corner like that. That makes a really interesting composition. But work on getting darker and giving this some shadow, okay? Awesome. All right, thank you. Jane.
Well, so I chose a very complicated object, and it's got light emanating from it.
Oh, okay, great. I love people who challenge themselves. Show us what you did.
So I think what I might do, I might try this again and just get the shape and all of the basics down first rather than getting into all the details. So I'm learning that lesson.
if you want to capture the entire image, you do have to do the outline of the entire form first, and
Right.
then go back with the detail. I'm loving the color work though, however,
Thank you.
and the shape of the dome is quite beautiful. All right, anyone else? Heather, go ahead. You gotta unmute, Heather.
Can you see?
Yes, good. Wonderful. Is it a figure or you're working from a photo?
It was a little statuette type thing.
Yeah, wow.
Little Jew guy.
Really accurate recreation. Work on your darks, Dave. You need to get really dark behind. Otherwise, really, really nice loose line work. I like it, Heather.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Karen, were you trying to show us something?
No. I was playing with the gallery view. I'm not sure how it works, but I do have a question about
Sure.
Suzanne's still life.
Sure.
Did you say you liked the piece that was on the bottom left, or you didn't like it?
Love it. I love
Oh, me. Okay. All right.
I love when artists do that kind of off-kilter composition.
Uh-huh.
It really
Yeah.
draws the viewer in. It makes for a much more exciting image.
Right.
So
And
it's always a good
and-
thing when you run a shape off the edge of the page
Right.
or put it off center. All right. We only have a couple minutes left. Anybody else? Esty, go ahead. You have to speak up, Esty, so say something, Esty.
I'm saying that it's a statue that I got in my homeland, Burma, Myanmar.
Your homeland, okay.
Yeah.
She's really nice. Again, I like the negative shapes that you've created here. She looks like she's in great proportion.
Yeah, she's longer. I think she's longer, but
It's a little longer.
Yeah. I started too far away from the edge.
I like your use of color. I would get very dark underneath to ground her on the tabletop. So do really dark shadow underneath. That will also make the colors pop, and a little bit of shadow under her chin.
Okay.
To define where the head ends and the neck begins. Yeah, lifetime lift.
Thanks.
Katie, were you trying to show your work? You don't have to if you don't want to, but.
Well, I lost about 5 or 10 minutes because of an important phone call, but I'll show what I was doing. And
Beautiful.
this was based on this. And the lower one, I really did not get into shading yet, but it was based on this.
Beautiful.
And I have a lot of life drawing background. And so I always seem to almost be drawing muscles in whatever object I'm doing. And so it was, fun to look at these inanimate objects and sort of create that kind of volume and shading to it.
So you're animating inanimate objects. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So
And I can tell you've had a lot of instruction. The way you understand that the top of this is an ellipse and not a circle. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, keep up with the shading. I want to see this drawing evolve even more. Really nice
Yes.
work.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Dina, go ahead. And then I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to talk about what we're doing next week. Dina, you have to say something so you'll be front and center. Yeah.
I did a weaving from last week.
Love it.
So I call this the Weaver's Garden. I was trying to get the idea of flowers and a little bit of sunshine.
Wow.
And this is made with a cardboard loom.
Have you ever woven before?
Never.
Awesome. Maybe you guys can help me with this. I'm working on Heidi to start a weaving class or a fiber arts class. We can weave, we can knit, we can sew.
Cool.
All right, so I'm sorry, those of you who wanted to share, technically class is over, but I want to talk briefly about next week. The first thing I want to remind everyone about is that the library has something called the Creative Corner. They need us to submit artwork. You can send JPEGs to Heidi, and then you might be the featured artist of the week. I was lucky enough and honored to be the artist last week, but we need to keep the pictures coming or Heidi will stop doing the Creative Corner. Any of the drawings that you've done today, just do a snapshot on your phone and email it to Heidi Schwab at the Hoboken Library.
This will show up on Instagram, on the library's Instagram page, and we'd like a little, just a one-sentence bio and a one-sentence blurb
Awesome.
about what you did. And we asked for, you know, a high-quality image.
Which you can get on your phone.
Some phones and some people, yeah.
Yeah.
I have an old phone, so it's not so great.
And the other thing I want to mention before talking briefly about next week's class is Ibu Ndoye is holding a glass painting workshop, reverse glass painting workshop on November 28th. The library will be handing out supplies, I think soon for that. I'm not sure the exact date. As soon as I find out, I will let you know. And if you have never done reverse glass painting before, or if you have and you know how great it is, I highly recommend his workshop. You will be able to make holiday gifts to give to people through this workshop as well. And reverse glass painting is a West African traditional art form. Ibu Ndoye is from Senegal, and he is a master of reverse glass painting. What else? I will be doing a doll making workshop on December 16th. You're each going to get 2 dolls to make and work on. Again, another holiday gift making workshop. And if you are a doll lover like me, it's the perfect workshop to take. Very relaxing and fun. Our artist for next week, it's not on the Hoboken website because for some insane reason, I thought we didn't have class next week. I thought it was Thanksgiving, which is on a Thursday always, not a Wednesday. So the artist I'm now announcing to you folks, you will be the first to know. The artist will be another Native American artist named Kay Walking Stick. So I invite you to Google her. Walking Stick is one word. It's her last name. Very different kind of art to what Jeffrey Gibson does, and I think you're going to enjoy. The materials that you will need, if you have any kind of colored drawing materials, like pastels, crayons, colored pencils, you can use those, and or acrylic or watercolor paints. You'll need paper, brushes if you're using paint, and I think that about covers it.
What sort of thing would we be working on?
We will be doing first a colored drawing, and then if you have paints,
All right.
you'll be doing a painting.
Should we get a drawing?
You're gonna love it, Cameron.
Well, I just wanted to know if we should get an object to work on, or.
No, you won't. You won't need that.
Okay.
You won't need that. Maybe a photograph or a picture.
Hang on.
And again, if you don't have paints, colored pencils, or crayons, work well for next week's project. Any other questions? Love, love, love this class today. I'm more relaxed. I hope that you are.
I did too. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Liz.
Good.
Thanks.
Dina has a question before we sign off. Dina,
I didn't write down the artist's name for next week.
Oh, K-A-Y,
Walking Stick?
Stick.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a wonderful contemporary Native American Indian artist.
I might have it wrong on the website because, you know, I got confused, but I'll fix it. We'll fix
I didn't send another artist because I thought it was Thanksgiving
it.
next
So
week.
could that, what you just said, could you send it to me and I'll put it on the website?
Absolutely,
And
thank you.
there's 7 places left for Ibu. Of course, you know, we don't guarantee we're gonna hand out supplies starting Monday. And people can come in, grab and go, nobody's name, nobody's guaranteed, and please only 1 per person.
So 1 bag per person. You should be getting at least 2 glass things for you to use, either a flat piece of glass or a glass jar. Will paints be supplied? Do you know?
I think so.
Okay,
I think Sharissa's working on this right now.
okay. Awesome. Fabulous. We did great art this morning. I look forward to seeing all of you next week. You can rewatch this
Liz.
video, correct? It's been recorded. So if you missed anything, if you had to leave the room for a few minutes, you can watch the whole
Liz.
thing again.
Excuse
Tim,
me.
Helen,
Liz.
yes.
Could you